Okay, I'm ready.
All right. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for starting your day with us today, and happy Friday. I'm Roseanne Ford, president of the Midstate Chamber of Commerce, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of things chamber related. Just to call your attention to our COVID business resource page that is updated regularly with a lot of great information on our website at www.midstatechamber.com. We also are working on our 2021 Insight magazine, which will be coming out in the spring of next year. And it is our 125th special anniversary edition. So it's a great way to embed your footprint, increase your branding, and it's really a great resource for businesses and residents in our area. You can find information on that on our website as well. And also, we're excited about a campaign that we're doing right now that is promoting our chamber members and also our nonprofit chamber members. So it's called Support Local Businesses and Shop Your Chamber. So you can find all of our chamber members on the member directory of our website. And if you purchase a gift card or, if you do they provide a service for you. If you go out to eat, you can submit your receipts, a minimum of $25 to us between now and December 22nd. And you'll be entered to win one of two $50 Visa or MasterCard gift cards. And the unique spin to this is if you donate to one of our nonprofit members, of which there are many, you will win. You will receive double your entries. So we hope you look forward to that. And we'll also be that drawing will take place on December 23rd, but we will also be starting it up again in the new year and have a campaign that will also run through Valentine's Day. So just a reminder to support our local businesses, many that are chamber members, and it's a fun way to support them and also have a chance to win a prize. So we are all looking forward to 2021, and yes, especially we are here at the Midstate Chamber because it is our 125th anniversary. So we have a lot of great things planned. So stay tuned for more information on that. But without further ado, I know I'm really looking forward to this presentation this morning. I want to thank Scott Gumbar from Nuage Tech, and he's going to give us some essential tips in terms of phishing and keeping safe on the internet. It's very timely. A lot of us are doing online shopping, but it's certainly timely information now for the holidays, but we really have to be informed so that we can protect ourselves all throughout the year when we are when we're online. So Scott, thank you again for being with us today. Appreciate you doing this presentation, and take it away.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. And you're correct. It is very timely. I named it Holiday Phishing Extravaganza. But the reason I'm calling it that is because phishing attacks generally do increase this time of the year. This year, they've doubled since October. So we're going to talk about what you need to know to protect yourself during the remaining shopping season, which most of us at this point, given the pandemic and everything else, we're doing the majority of our shopping online. So a little bit about me. I am the owner of Nuage Tech. I call myself the head IT guy. I don't usually like the term owner or CEO or any of that other stuff. So I'm the head IT guy. I do love technology. You kind of have to if you're doing what I'm doing. And I love small businesses. I do my best to support small businesses as well as the chamber. And of course, my family, and of course, baseball. I also coach here in Meriden. Well, actually, I don't anymore. Last year was my last year. So, but my son is still playing, and I love baseball, and so does he. So I get this a lot. I say phishing, and people say, "Well, what does that mean? Phishing? What are you talking about? I'm going to go catch some fish," and it kind of is catching fish. What is somebody doing? They're casting out a lure to try to get somebody to bite and reel them in. And it's done primarily through email, but it can be done through text messaging called smishing, SMS smishing, voice calls, which is called vishing, or compromised websites. but primarily it does occur through email. You will get an email that will try to get you to perform an action, usually click on a link and enter some information or download a document that will contain malware. And once they've gotten you to take that action, they've hooked you, and now they're going to reel you in, and chances are they're going to cast a wider net and try to catch more people with that fish. Some phishing facts. I'll wait for that to load. 90% of ransomware attacks begin with a phishing attack. So we've probably all heard the term ransomware attack at this point. Ransomware has become the scourge of the internet. And, you know, it used to be a ransomware attack would be an individual would have their computer encrypted, and the attacker would say, we want $200 to unencrypt your computer, decrypt your computer. Now they're attacking businesses. And as an example, a business was attacked, I think their European-based business was attacked last week. And the ransomware attackers want $34 million to decrypt their network. It's a much larger network. Obviously, they believe this company has the resources, but they're no longer looking for $200 at a time. They're looking for millions of dollars at a time. 90% of those attacks begin with phishing. 146,994 successful phishing attacks reported in the first half of this year. 65% of the groups use spear phishing as the primary infection vector. Spear phishing is phishing attacks. A lot of times they cast a wide net. It's going to get sent to a bunch of people in hopes that somebody will click on it. Spray and pray method. Spear phishing is targeted. So instead of just sending out a bunch of emails, random emails to random people, I'm now sending an email to Scott Gumbar saying, hey, Scott Gumbar, we have your Amazon payment didn't go through. Click here to update your payment method. And that's targeted now because it includes my name. And typically they'll target business owners, CEOs, C-level executives, people with a little more authority within a business. 60% of organizations that are successfully phished lose data. Data is a huge commodity on the dark web. And the more data an attacker can get, the more money they can make from it. The average breach costs organizations $3.92 million. As you can probably figure, that will put a lot of businesses out of business. That doesn't take into consideration, and one of the other slides will go over all the different things that a phishing attack or a data breach can cost a company. But it's not just what the attacker is taking from you, but there's other things like loss of reputation and insurance and things like that. The average wire transfer loss from a BEC attack is in the second quarter of 2020 was $80,183. So a BEC is a business email compromise, and it's a form of phishing where they convince the recipient to send money that for another company. So if I'm supposed to pay the Midstate Chamber some money, they'll convince me to send it to a different account under the guise that they're the Midstate Chamber. This happens a lot in real estate transactions, legal transactions, things like that. But I've seen it's happen in municipalities where the municipality owes a contractor some money. Somebody contacts them and says, instead of sending it to this account, we need you to send it to this account. They send the money to the supposed new account, and now the municipality is out whatever that money was, and it's usually in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The average is $80,183. So those are some pretty scary numbers. 1 in 323 emails will be malicious for small businesses. So most of us are probably getting a couple hundred emails per day. And that means at least once every other day, you're getting a phishing email. Microsoft, if we're using Microsoft 365 or Google G Suite, they filter out probably 90% of the phishing emails, but some still get through, and I'll give you some examples in a moment. 200% increase. As I mentioned earlier, there is a 200% increase in phishing attacks since October. And again, we usually see that this time of the year anyway. It's usually holiday themed stuff, but this year we have the added bonus of having COVID-19 themed stuff. So there's been a lot of phishing emails around COVID-19 vaccine, or your neighbor has COVID-19 type emails trying to scare you into clicking on links. That in itself would be a HIPAA violation. So hopefully nobody's getting that in real life. The real cost of a phishing attack, though, lost hours from employees. If an employee gets phished, their email account is going to be disabled for a little bit while that gets remediated. You have remediation costs. So how much does it cost for you to clean up the mess from the phishing attack? Incident response, there should be an incident response in place. Hopefully there is. Not always. There's I don't remember who it was now. There was a business that their information was showing up. So there's a website called databreach.net that reports when they find data on the dark web from a company that was breached. And a lot of times, by the time databreach.net gets it, they're aware, the company's aware and has already reported the data breach to the necessary authorities. Well, in this case, I just saw this yesterday, the company has not reported it to anybody that they were breached, and is not acknowledging that they were breached. So now there's a data breach, and I believe it was in healthcare. Now there's a data breach and people's information is out there and they're not even acknowledging it. That means there's no incident response, or they're just trying to cover it up, but usually it means there's no incident response. Damaged reputation, again, that company is going to take a huge hit, but anybody who shows up as a data breach has a damaged reputation. University of Vermont hospital system was hit with a ransomware attack a few weeks ago. It cost them $1.5 million per day in lost revenue, but they're also going to have a reputation hit because of that. Lost intellectual property. The Pfizer in Europe was hit with a data breach, and some of their data for the Pfizer vaccine was exposed. It was stolen, I believe. A security company, FireEye, was hit with a data breach, and they stole all of the security. This is a cybersecurity company. They stole all of the cybersecurity company's tools. They're called red team tools. So they stole these tools. They'll probably get used in future hacking attacks somewhere else, but they were stolen. So those are intellectual property at that point. Direct monetary losses. A lot of times phishing attacks lead to financial theft. Compliance fines. We have we don't have a nationwide, we don't have GDPR here in the US, but a lot of states have their own version. California and New York both have data protection laws. And I do believe at some point the US will have a nationwide data protection law similar to GDPR. But then there's other compliance. There's HIPAA compliance, there's a law firm compliance, FINRA compliance, and all of those. If you have credit cards, you have PCI DSS compliance. I mean, most businesses take credit cards now. Lost revenue and legal fees. You're going to end up paying all of those as well. And I'm just going to show you some examples now. So this is a text message I got a few days ago. And so we've been trying to get my son a PlayStation 5 for Christmas. So you can see, and I'm not alone in that. A lot of people are trying to do that.
Right.
But you can see how this might get people to click on this. So it says, "Hi Scott, from us to you, accept your PS5." This was on Sunday, 11/29. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Don't miss out, and then click on this link. So that link alone is a good indication you shouldn't click on it, because it's, what is RQF, MWL? What is that? Nobody knows. And then just some random letters and numbers. It just looks suspicious. And as a general rule, unless I know the sender, never click on the link on text or in email. This is a small percentage of all phishing attacks. It's less than 3% of all phishing attacks. However, it is going to continue to grow, because any marketer will tell you you get a much higher open rate than you do. You get a much higher open rate via text message than you do from email.
And what if you were to text stop to that? Does that mean you've acknowledged and you're,
Yeah, I didn't. I will. Well, it says text 8 to stop.
or 8 to stop? Yeah.
So what I do is I just block the numbers.
Okay.
Because I don't know if texting 8 to stop will really work, or if I'm just opening up another can of worms.
Yeah. Okay.
This is hotels.com, and it says, 50% and or $50 off when you spend $350 or more. And we're seeing a lot of these right now because the tourism industry took a big financial loss this year. And so you're seeing a lot of the tourism companies sending out promotions, and the cruises are saying that I don't remember the number, 100,000 people were going to get free cruises as a way to test to make sure that they're COVID safe. But so there's a lot of these going around. But what do you guys see what the issue with this is?
Oh.
So look at the email address, roktpowered.com. So it didn't really come from hotels.com.
Yeah.
So that's a red flag.
Mm.
This one was a couple of years ago, so it's not COVID related, but it's got, it's the same idea. And we're seeing there is a lot of these going around right now too. And in this one, I gave you the hint in the last one, but similar. This is, Best Buy, and it's Christmas holidays, so it's a holiday themed email. And this is from 7 years ago. But if you look at the email address, it's not from Best Buy, it's from fashionlab.com.ua. So those are some examples of what a phishing email will look like. Other than the email address, it looks pretty official. It's got a link to a Best Buy order form, and says that the address wasn't correct, and then fill in this form. What are they looking for? They're looking for more information about you. I tell all the people, and we're doing another webinar in January, kind of on the subject of social media, but you see it a lot where the people fill out the questionnaires on Facebook. What was your favorite pet's name, or what's your favorite movie, or things like that. What was your first concert? They're asking those questions because those are typically security questions you'll have set up as a backup verification method for your email account or your bank account or things like that. And they can take that information and do more social engineering on you. This form is the same idea. You fill in your address, your name, and now they have more information on you. So how do you recognize a phishing attack? First of all, legitimate companies don't ask for sensitive info via email. So PayPal or Amazon or your bank, whatever company it is, isn't going to ask you to click here to update your information. They're never going to ask for that information. They're never going to ask you for your password over the phone or especially email or text message. If you begin the process of resetting your password, then yes, you will get an email with directions on how to update that password, but they're never going to proactively ask for your sensitive information via email or phone call or text message. Compared to the IRS, people get the IRS phone calls all the time. You're about to get arrested, your accounts are about to be frozen unless you pay us XYZ money. The IRS doesn't call people. The IRS sends you mail. And that's the only way to communicate with you unless you call them first. This is the same idea. They're not going to call you or email you and say, click here to update your password or update your information. They just don't do that. They play on emotions, primarily fear. So it's not just, your neighbor has COVID-19, and it'll have a document. This is actually one that happened. I don't know if it's still going on. It happened a few months ago where they were sending out a document, a PDF document, and it would say your neighbor has COVID-19, and I'm paraphrasing, but your neighbor has COVID-19, download the document to review, and what steps should you take. And the documents, PDF documents especially, but also Word documents, can contain malware. So that you download the document, you click on the document, and it will launch malware on your computer. And the next thing is it'll communicate back to what they call a command and control server, and then download more malware that's going to do damage to your computer, spread to other computers on your network, try to reach other people. I'm going to give you an example of that in a moment. But try to go out to other people via email. And then the final step is it'll download ransomware, and then you're not going to have access to any of your data anymore once that happens. But it's always fear. But it could be fear of missing out. In the case of the PS5, I only had the 24 hours, or I don't remember how long it said, but to respond by clicking on that link. Well, some people might feel like they might feel they're going to miss out on something, so they'll click on it. And that link will lead to maybe getting me to purchase something that I'm not really going to get. Or maybe it will ask me for a username and password somewhere. We see a lot of that with Microsoft. They'll tell you need to log in to update your information for Microsoft, and it'll take you to a web page that looks exactly like Microsoft 365 web page. You enter your username and password, and it may even tell you, okay, you've successfully completed the steps, but you didn't really log into Microsoft, so now somebody else has your credentials. Suspicious activity, a problem with your account. So these are some of the key phrases that you'll see in an email. Suspicious activity or a problem with your account should be a red flag saying, okay, this doesn't feel right. And I'll give you some tips on how to deal with those things, because I understand if you get an email from Amazon that says there was some suspicious activity with your account, you are going to be a little concerned. Somebody's spending money on your account, or whatever it may be, or your PayPal account. Some people keep money. I have a few clients that keep a significant amount of money in their PayPal accounts. They would be concerned if they got an email that said suspicious activity or a problem with your account, and they may click on the link, but it doesn't take them to PayPal. It takes them somewhere else. They log in with their credentials, and then the bad guys have your username and password. Now they log into your real PayPal account and wipe it out. Poor grammar used to be a lot more common. They've gotten a lot better at this now. So don't rely on poor grammar. If there is poor grammar, and I have an example of that on an attack an email that was sent to me last week. But it doesn't happen as often, so don't rely on that. Fake links, you can hover over the link. A lot of people don't know that. In an email, you can hover over the link and see where it takes you. And if it says it's going to Amazon and it's not going to Amazon, it doesn't say Amazon.com in the link, then don't click on it. They don't use your name. That's another red flag. So if you get an email and it just says hello, or especially some attacks of, you could tell they're just being lazy. It says hello and then first name. If they're not using your name, that's a good indication it's phishing. And the email doesn't match the company. So if you get, those two examples I showed you where it said one of them was Best Buy and it said fashion something, then that's not Best Buy, and you should just ignore it, delete it, mark it as spam. And the best defense is a strong offense. So here are things you can do to prevent the phishing, or you mitigate. You can't prevent them. It's going to continue to happen, but you can mitigate the risk. So education is key. So that's what, this is part of the education, learning how to recognize it, learning how to handle it. When I see an increase in a particular type of phishing attack, I do send out emails to my clients and say, this is what you need to look for. Even though they're set up to remove a lot of those phishing attacks from ever getting to their inbox, I still want them to know that it's out there, because even though there is steps in place to prevent it, the bad guys have gotten smarter about it and have found ways around it. And in some cases, they're using Google and Microsoft's method for eliminating security risks against them. So in other words, if Google says we're putting these steps in place to mitigate the risk of you being compromised, the bad guys are saying, okay, we're going to use that so that when the email gets through, they think it's safer. So I will routinely update my clients as to what they should be looking for, what are the trends and things like that. So it's really important wherever you can find that information. There are websites out there. bleepingcomputer.com is a great website for updated information about, you know, what type of attacks are out there and who's been attacked. And so that's a good resource. The US federal government has some websites set up for that as well. Don't click. So if you get an email that says, click here to update your password or click here to update your credit card or whatever it is, don't click to that site. If it's Amazon, just type in amazon.com. Anything you get in an email should be a message within that platform. If you get an email from PayPal that says your credit card is expired, update your new credit card here, just type in paypal.com and go to that site manually, log in manually, and update your information if that's the case. It probably won't be, because PayPal doesn't care if your credit card isn't updated. Okay, they're just going to wait for you to log in and update it when you're ready. Verify the sender via phone, text before downloading. So one of the examples that I want to share with you is a law firm here in Connecticut was hacked last week, and I got an email from them, very poorly written, that said, to review the details of the new project, download this document. And it was a PDF document. It got flagged by my phishing mitigation software. But it was very poorly written, and it came from one of the partners at the firm. So I contacted him, and I've never spoken to him in my life. I've never had any contact with him. So I contacted him and I said, you know, I received this email. I want to make sure that it's legitimate. He said, no, we were hacked. The grammar was a red flag. It's coming from an attorney. You would think the grammar would be, you know, pretty good. So I knew right away, even though the phishing mitigation software caught it, sometimes when you review it, the emails are legitimate. In this case, I knew it wasn't, but I wanted to make sure that the lawyer also knew that. And he said they knew they were hacked, but it's a good example. And they wanted me to download the PDF because that PDF probably contained malware. And the target, unfortunately, my industry is a big target as well. So the bad guys are saying to themselves, this guy's in cybersecurity. We want to show that he doesn't know what he's doing. Law firms, financial firms, healthcare, municipalities, all big targets. Education. There was an alert sent out yesterday or the day before by the federal government about increased attacks on K through 12 distance learning. Phishing mitigation software, there are quite a few of them. Google and Microsoft have some of that built into their offerings. I use Iron Scales. There are others out there that are just as good. Ensure the site you're shopping on is secure and reputable. So how do you know if a site has an extra layer of security? It should start with HTTPS. Let me see if I can bring something up here. But more importantly, look for the lock. Let me share this here. Let me find my Zoom. Okay. So on this page, you can see the lock right next to the domain name. There's a little lock icon. And then you can actually click on that and see what certificate they're using, who the certificate authority is. And it's gotten to a point where some of the scammers will use, because you can set up the security for free now. You don't need to pay for it, but they'll use a certificate issued by someone other than the actual certificate authority. But most people wouldn't know what that looks like. So you have to depend on the people doing the updating. That's why those websites are great. Bleeping Computer and other websites.
We didn't see that if you're we didn't see that on the screen.
Because I forgot to click the share button.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah, so this little
So-
dot right here.
Yeah, and then what you click,
So if you click on that, you can see and then the certificate, you can see
right,
the certificate authority. Now, sometimes issued by secureserver.net, that's pretty safe. That's a safe bet. And now, so this one expires in 2021. It was issued for 2 years. Now they changed, this would be a red flag if this happened today, because now the certificates are only 393 days or something like that, just over a year. So that would be a red flag if you saw this today, but because they just changed that recently. So if this was issued in December, it should only be a little more than a year. So going forward. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. All right. And reputable too. So there, we all see, we all know the stories about how if you speak loud enough near your phone, the next thing you know, you'll see ads for whatever you're talking about on Facebook. Well, I see it a lot where, all right, as an example, running sneakers. I'll see ads on Facebook all the time for running sneakers, but it's random sites like joesneakershop.com. I've never heard of it. If you've never heard of it, don't shop there. So it's best to stay safe and shop on websites that you're familiar with. So, or if you're really unsure, then go to Amazon, and Walmart has a similar setup to Amazon now. I don't like to encourage that either. I do believe in shopping local if you can, but you can't do that for everything. So it's best to stay with what you know, Macy's.com or Boscovs.com, whatever you're familiar with already, and then type it in manually. Don't just go to joesneakershop.com and shop for sneakers on there when there's reputable websites where you can get it from. We use phishing simulation, which is also part of IronScale. So I will probably not monthly, but close to it, will send out a fake phishing email to see if my clients will take the bait. And if they do, then they get the added bonus of watching a new video about how to recognize phishing emails. But the reason for that is not so much to embarrass them, but to keep that thought in their mind that legitimate emails could also be phishing, or what they think is legitimate emails could be phishing emails. It keeps it front of mind. Breach monitoring, also very important. So the person that I talk about with the Amazon scam, she had me set her up on breach monitoring. So what that does is it monitors the dark web for potential breaches. And some of you, I don't know, I've never heard of it until I saw it on the breach report, but there's a website called Houtlook, HAUTE look.com. I guess you could buy like fashionable clothes, or I don't know. That website came up earlier this year as being breached. So what it'll do is it'll say Houtlook.com was breached. Your account was on that website, your email address, and sometimes the password will be there in clear text. And the attackers will use that information in credential stuffing, is what it's called. So they'll take that username and password and then try it on other websites. And what I see a lot of the times is when somebody's been involved in that breach, they're using the same password on a bunch of other websites. So they might try it on bankofamerica.com or tdbank.com. They might try it on Amazon or PayPal. They might try it on a bunch of other, Facebook even, or LinkedIn. So we monitor for that activity, and there is a free website, which I didn't put here, that you can also go check on your own to see if you've been breached in the past. It's not as it's not proactive. It doesn't continuously monitor, but you could check to see if you were involved in the past. And I'll put that in the chat. Stay up to date. What does that mean? It really means two things. One is make sure all your software on your computer is up to date. So in Windows, Microsoft released their patches on Tuesday this past Tuesday. Make sure you push those patches to your computer, because sometimes that's how the malware works. Once you've been phished, the malware installs on your computer. It's going to look for those things that Microsoft just patched. If you didn't patch them, then you're at more risk. There was
Scott,
yep.
Scott, when you're saying, patching, is that normally done through regular updates, or is that something additional that we would have to do?
No, it's part of every second Tuesday of the month. So Microsoft releases 2 updates a month. One is the second Tuesday of the month, and those are the security updates. And that will be part of your normal Windows updates. So if you're already doing it, or if your computer is set to automatically do it, then that's great. I don't have my clients do it automatically, because sometimes the patches include, or they'll break something. So I wait a few days and make sure there's no issues. I'll test it, and then I will install it for them. But if you're doing it already, and a lot of people are, it's set to automatically download and install, then you're completing that step. Where you might run into problems is things like Google Chrome or Firefox or Adobe Reader are not updated automatically until you open them. So they're on your computer and they're not updated, and they may look for vulnerability in those items. So once you open Google Chrome or Firefox, it should update automatically. But if you haven't opened it in a while, so I have Google Chrome, I always use Google Chrome, but I also have Firefox. I don't use it all the time. So if I don't use Firefox, then it's not going to update until I do use it. But that's what patching means. It's patching holes. You can think of it as patching holes in the software.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. But it also means, so stay up to date also means stay up to date with current trends. So this year we're seeing, in the last 2 months, we're seeing a ton of holiday phishing scams. This year we're seeing a huge increase. Well, we've never had them before, but we're seeing a lot of COVID-19 themed phishing scams. We saw a lot of election scams earlier this year. There was phishing scams around Greta Thunberg. I don't know if you remember her, but she was in the news earlier this year around the environmental change stuff. Things like that. Australia wildfires earlier this year. So whatever popular trends there are in the news, a lot of times will become phishing themes. Review statements. Review your credit card statements, and I think we're all guilty of this. You get those $3, $5, $10 a month charges. We don't really pay attention to those. The next thing you know, something else is coming out of your account every month for $10, and it happens for a couple months, and then suddenly it's $200 or $500, whatever it might be. Make sure you're paying attention to those statements. Make sure you're paying attention to your Amazon account to see if there's purchases that you've never made, or your PayPal account, things like that. Just make sure that there's nothing there that shouldn't be there. Use complex passwords and multi-factor authentication. So this one is a kind of a pet peeve of mine, I guess. I don't want to call it a pet peeve, but it's something that I believe strongly in. So complex passwords are passwords that use uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. And the more characters, the better. There is a significant increase in the amount of time it takes to breach a password that's 8 characters versus 10 characters. And by significant, I mean years. So an 8-character password might take a few days. A 10-character password could take a couple of decades. And I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't know how accurate that is, but there is a significant difference between how long a shorter password will take to breach than a longer password. And then quantum computing is coming. Google and China both have quantum computing capabilities at this point. So that will make cracking passwords a lot easier for people that have access to those things. And then multi-factor authentication. So what does that mean? Set up everything that you log into that allows you to set up multi-factor authentication, set it up. And what multi-factor authentication does is you type in your username and your password, and then it asks for usually a 6-digit code. Some are 8 or 9, but usually a 6-digit code that you have an app on your phone that will generate that code. It's called a one-time password. So you type in username and password, ask for the code, you type in the code that the app on your phone will generate, and that's Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or Authy. Those are the three most common ones. And then I didn't put it here, but a password manager. So I use LastPass. In this way, you should not have the same password on two sites. So I should not have the same password for my banking login as I do for Facebook, because if one of those gets breached, they could potentially breach your account on the other site as well. And that's oversimplified, but that's what'll happen is I'll run a dark web scan for a business, and I will see in some cases dozens of breaches, and you'll see passwords in clear text, and it's all the same passwords. I just did this as a favor for someone the other day on their Gmail account, and every single breach they showed up on, which was probably 10 or 12, everyone that had the password, it was the same password for each one. And I've told them before to change the password. They still haven't done it, and they're just asking for trouble. A lot of banks are doing that now too for you. They will send you, and they will say your credentials have been involved in a breach. So that's how she discovered that she may be compromised. And I ran the report for her, and I told her what was on the report, and I said, you have the same password that shows up, a handful of times. You need to change that password wherever it shows up. I hope she takes that advice, but we'll see. And then finally, privacy.com. There are a few websites that do this. This is a good idea for anybody who uses credit cards online. Privacy.com, I believe they have a free account, but then the paid account is really not that expensive. You can generate credit card numbers for one-time use, or for, if you want to try a subscription somewhere, it'll generate a credit card number for that single purpose. And this way you're not putting in your credit card number on the internet. If you are going to shop online, you should use a credit card, because the credit card companies will return the money if you are compromised, versus a lot of times the banks will not if it's a debit card. There's different rules by each bank. I don't really know the rules for each bank, but privacy.com is a great way to avoid that altogether. And there are other sites that do the same thing. So okay, that's actually the end of the presentation. But what I want to show you before we go to that, let me bring it up for you. Oops, did not want to do that. I can't find it now. Okay, here we go. Well, I was going to show you the three. I've gotten 3 phishing emails that were flagged by my system. One was from Best Buy, or claiming to be Best Buy, I believe. One was the law firm that I told you about. And then the third one came from a random person, and the grammar was really bad. It said something about, we have this deal available in your country, or something like that. I don't remember the exact details, but it came just random email. So these are things that would have gotten, that means it got through. So I use Office 365 for my email, and it would have gotten through to that.
You have someone that's very interested in giving you a hug.
Oh, she's very interested in being involved in the video.
All right.
Where's my PowerPoint? even though she's supposed to be in class right now.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's that asynchronous day. So,
Yes, yes. Well, we are, here at the Midstate Chamber, we are pet and kid friendly, so no worries about this.
That's right.
yeah. So do we have questions? Are you seeing my question screen right now?
Yeah, yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
What was the website that you said for updated account attack information?
Bleepingcomputer.com is a great resource. And the other one that I go to a lot is, let me find it here. I don't know the address, but it's US Cybersecurity. What is it? US. Well, actually, I have it saved.
Mm.
Okay. It is this one. Not this one. Hang on. This one. You're seeing current activity?
Yeah, yeah, we can see it.
This one is us-cert.cisa.gov and then blah. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And a lot of people didn't even know this agency existed until a couple of weeks ago when the head of the agency was fired. But, so you'll see like Adobe releases security updates for Acrobat and Reader. This is actually pretty common, at least once a month. Reader is a common target for malware. But you'll see, and not just US, so this is the UK version of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in the different campaigns, but ransomware threats, the different things. This is the FireEye data breach I was talking about, but this is a good resource. You can set it up to feed right into your email if you wanted to. And then the other website is bleepingcomputer.com, which always seems to be up to date with information.
Bleeping, yeah.
So here's another one. Microsoft new malware can affect over 30,000 Windows PCs per day.
You mentioned the dark web, which I know I've heard the term. I don't know a whole lot about what distinguishes that from the web generally.
Yeah, so the dark web is think of it as black market on the internet.
Okay.
You need a special browser to access it, and it's not a place where most people would be comfortable. They do similar stuff to what you would find in a black market. So they do sell drugs. They do different criminal activities for hire. I've heard that you can buy body parts on there. I don't know, but one of the things they sell on there is breached data. So if they find, as an example, 2016, I believe LinkedIn was compromised. So they have all of the LinkedIn accounts that were compromised. They'll have all those usernames and passwords on the dark web for sale. Now that was 4 years ago. So hopefully all the passwords were changed since then, but that's an example of a pretty large breach where that information will be available to anybody who wants to buy it. They'll sell personally identifiable information such as your home address, your email address, your passwords, things like that. But they will also sell protected health information, which seems to be a hot item on the dark web. So they'll sell, if they have healthcare records, which happens all the time now. There was a breach reported yesterday where potentially over 1 million dental patients were exposed. So if that information gets on the dark web, now people have dental records and things like that, and probably credit card numbers, social security numbers.
Right. You mentioned a website that would show you if your information was out there on that. Is that?
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me. It's have I been pwned.com. So it's have I been pawned.com. And you put in your email address. So if I just put in my Gmail address. You can use, your business email. You could check your Gmail. Apparently I've been pawned. 14 data breaches, but now it's not always, where are the data breaches? It's not always a bad thing. What? Okay, here they are. So I was breached on, where is it? Where's the ones I've been breached? Okay.
Mhm.
Citadel Day, I don't even know what that is. So a lot of times people will show up on breaches they didn't even know they were part of.
Mhm.
There was one Dropbox. So in 2012, Dropbox suffered a data breach. So it's old. I've probably changed it since then. I used to play this online game before June of 2016. I've never been, so see, I've never been to this website, mail.ru. That's a Russian
Mhm.
email site. MyFitnessPal. I do remember this breach. So if you use MyFitnessPal and before 2018 and your password was likely involved with that breach, you should change your password there, and anywhere else you use that password.
Okay.
But this is a Zynga. A lot of people were involved in this one because that was, I don't know if they're still tied to Facebook, but they were tied to Facebook at one point.
Mhm.
Now, does LifeLock have anything to do with any of this phishing stuff? And is that something good to have, or?
LifeLock, that is an ID protection provider, and they will monitor this information for you. They're, from what I understand, they're very good at what they do, and I believe they also have insurance, right? So they'll cover you up to $1 million or something like that.
I believe so.
Yeah. So for that reason alone, because recovering from something like this can be expensive.
What are some other platforms you might recommend, Scott, for?
Yeah, so I use ID Agent, and so all that does is monitor for dark web activity, but that will let me know if your business, and it's that, so that's really better for a business that has a few, at least a few dozen employees, because employees don't always monitor their stuff. I think for the most part, if you have a credit card account, the credit cards will monitor for you to a degree. LifeLock is good. There are other ones out there. There's you might have some people in the chamber that do ACM. They offer one, and I can't remember the name of it now, but they offer a similar service. There's a few of them out there. But if you want to just check for free, this is a good source.
Okay. The other thing you mentioned was the online learning. My granddaughter's doing all her education online this year. And what are the risks? You said there's some risks there, or is that generally pretty safe?
It's, the risk is not at the student level, the risk is at the school level, and so it really depends on their IT. What I have seen a lot of is so all the students have almost identical passwords. There'll be one or two characters that are different, and that creates a problem, because once the bad guys figure out the pattern, they can just check everybody's passwords and then get in. They can, my kid's school has been fortunate enough. The only thing they've experienced is denial of service attacks, which don't really do anything except take down the network for a little while. But there have been other compromises where the Baltimore school systems were shut down for at least a few days because they were hit with a ransomware attack. And I think Alabama or somewhere down south was also hit. There was a school system in Connecticut that was, I think Hartford maybe, was hit at the beginning of the school year with a ransomware attack. So they were offline for 2 days. What information they're getting, I don't know. It's probably different in each case, but it's really at the school level, not really at the student level. The students, for the most part, they're using Chromebooks, and because they're using Chromebooks, they're a little bit safer. You can't install software on a Chromebook. So.
Okay, good. Makes me feel a little better.
Well, that could be another whole segment or seminar that Scott could provide. We were talking in our recent education committee about some of these things, and TikTok with kids, and it's just a lot. There's a lot out there, and a lot that we have to be careful about.
Yeah, TikTok is, my son is going to be upset because he's in earshot of me, but it's not safe.
Mhm.
He doesn't use it, but yeah, he already knew that. But although he's asked me about it, so it's
Yeah.
not safe. We don't know, from the parent aspect, there's the cyberbullying and there's no way to monitor it. Unless so in my case, I'm very upfront with my kids. My son, my daughter does, my youngest here behind me doesn't have a phone, but my son has a phone because of an incident at the school last year. But I'm very upfront with him. I'm going to check your phone and I'm going to monitor what you're doing. And I actually use a program called RPACT to see what's going on his phone. But I think the important piece to that is be upfront with them. Don't do it behind their backs.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's definitely a topic. I think, especially as you get to middle school and high school, it gets to be a lot tougher. We didn't have those things when I was a kid.
And we sure didn't have it when we were kids, right, George?
Absolutely right.
I think we had a slide rule.
Yeah, right.
I told my kids the other day the different forms of discipline that I had growing up versus today. So
Yes.
I'll just leave it at that. So this is how you can find us, nuagetech.com. This is the Facebook if you want to message us. And then on Facebook, we are Nuage Tech, Instagram, Nuage Tech. I think we're Nuage Tech at all of them. Yeah, all of them is just Nuage Tech. And what else do I have? Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank
If you guys have any
Wow,
more questions, you
Scott.
can always email us.
Why does it say thanks for your time?
Thank you,
Thank
Scott,
you.
for
Yes,
this
thank you
great
very much.
presentation. My goodness.
Yes.
And, Scott did record it. So Scott will send me the link when it's ready. And so that we can, all share this great information. It's so important. And Scott, we're looking forward to your other upcoming seminars. We're going to, continue this into 2021 on different topics. So if you have, please share with us what you want to know more about as well.
The next one is January 21st. I've been inputting it in a lot of different platforms.
Okay.
We just need the Zoom meeting and the meeting code and password.
Okay, I'll
And
get
then we
that
can
to you.
get that up.
Yep.
All right.
And
No, I
that's
enjoyed it very
on,
much. I thought it was very useful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that
I'm
that one in January is on social media, how to stay safe on social media. So similar to
social
this,
media.
but a little different.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go home and have my husband change all his singular passwords.
Yes, tell them to mix it up. So, similar to LifeLock, there are similar services to LastPass as well. So there's one password, but LastPass is the one I prefer. And LastPass has a password generator, so you can generate. So there's two methods. You can generate just random passwords, as many characters. I usually go 15 or higher, and then you save it to LastPass. And then when you go to log in, it does it for you. And then on your phone, you set up biometrics like fingerprints or retina scanner. The other password alternative to that is, so what some people will do is use phrases. So like song lyrics or movie titles or movie quotes, things like that. And then you just, you might change out some of the letters for numbers. Instead of an I, you use a 1, or you have some uppercase, some lowercase, things like that. So that's another way to manage passwords. A little more complicated, I think, when you get to a couple dozen platforms, but yeah. Hopefully that's helpful.
Very, very helpful, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop recording.